Good morning. The time for convening has arrived. The Senate will come to order. Here we go. At this time, I'd like to recognize the senator from the 6th for the reading of the journal.
Good morning, Mr. President. You know, yesterday you cut my mic off, and now you won't cut it on. Just a tough life in the life of a rules chairman.
If I didn't like you, I wouldn't pick at you.
But that's okay, Mr. President. Still love you. Mr. President, we got some great pages here today. I'm just going to go ahead and get with it. Out of Conyers, we've got Janiah Graydon and Lillian Jackson. Out of Thompson, McDuffie County, we got Windsor Smith. Out of Dahlonega, we've got Nixon McGilvery. Out of Dunwoody, we've got Charles Dunn. Out of Statesboro, Meredith and Reagan Spandel, two sisters. Out of Cumming, we have Elijah Brown. Out of Marietta, Connor DeForest and Josephine Johnson. Out of Alpharetta, Caleb Joyner. From Cumming, Ashritha Kanathala. Out of Winder, Shelby Morgan. Out of Brazelton, Emma Pittman. From Demarest, Caroline Sutton. From Ellenwood, Ryan Scott. Out of Woodstock, Inman Ragsdale. And from Cordele, we have William Odom. Y'all give these pages a big round of applause. We look forward to working with y'all today. We appreciate you being here to help this great state. Mr. President, the journal has been read and found to be correct.
All right. Thank you, Senator. Greatly appreciate that, and thank you for all the pages that are here today. We've had quite a few this session, and we appreciate all their hard work. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? Chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none. The journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. First reading and references, the Senate bill. Secretary?
Senate Bill 184 by Senator Albers of the 56th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 185 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title
Public
40.
Safety.
Senate Bill 186 by Senator Estevez of the 35th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 187 by Senator Estevez of the 35th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to the imposition.
Finance.
Senate Bill 188 by Senator Estevez of the 35th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 189 by Senator Williams of the 25th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 190 by Senator Wicks of the 34th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia.
Veterans.
Senate Bill 191 by Senator Still of the 48th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 34 of the
Insurance and Labor.
Senate Bill 192 by Senator Estevez of the 35th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 24.
Insurance and Labor.
Senate Bill 193 by Senator Brass of the 6th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to vocational.
Higher Education.
Senate Bill 194 by Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Titles 3 and 40 of the Official Code of Georgia.
Regulated Industries.
Senate Bill 195 by Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 6 of Chapter
Health
4.
and Human Services.
Senate Bill 196 by Senator Orrock of the 36th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Article
Health
3.
and Human Services.
Senate Bill 197 by Senator Orrock of the 36th and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapters 2A.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Resolution 201 by Senator Harrell of the 40th and others. Resolution urging.
Insurance and Labor.
Senate Resolution 202 by Senator Harrell of the 40th and others. A resolution to commemorate the
Judiciary.
Senate Resolution 205 by Senator Orrock of the 36th and others. A resolution honoring the life and memory of the Honorable Vincent D. Fort and dedicating an intersection in his memory and for other purposes.
Transportation.
Mr. President, that completes the order.
First reading and references of House bills.
House Bill 223 by Representative Burchett of the 176 and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 40.
Finance.
House Resolution 42 by Representative Gambill of the 15th and others. A resolution ratifying Governor Brian.
Finance.
Mr. President, that completes the order.
Secretary will read reports of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Banking and Financial Institutions has had under consideration the following legislation, has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 119 due pass. House Bill 15 due pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Summers of the 13th District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism has had under consideration the following legislation, has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 28 due pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 111 due pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Beach of the 21st District, Chairman. Dear Mr. Secretary, pursuant to Senate Rule 2-1.6, I hereby give notice I will introduce a minority report to be read along with the majority report of Senate Bill 28, which was passed by Economic Development and Tourism on Wednesday, February 19, 2025. Sincerely, Senator McLaurin. Dear Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth has had under consideration the following legislation, has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 126 due pass. Senate Bill 154 due pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Hickman of the 4th District, Chairman. Dear Mr. Secretary, pursuant to Senate Rule 2-1.6, I hereby give notice I will introduce a minority report to be read along with the majority report of Senate Bill 154, which Education and Youth passed out on Tuesday, February 18, 2025. Sincerely, Senator Parent. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Higher Education has had under consideration the following legislation, has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 20 due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 85 due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor has had under consideration the following legislation, has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 56 due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Walker of the 20th District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Regulated Industries and Utilities has had under consideration the following legislation, has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 86 due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 131 due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Cowser of the 46th District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on State and Local Governmental Operations Local has had under consideration the following legislation, has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 359 due pass. Senate Bill 137 due pass. Senate Bill 77 due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Dixon of the 45th District, Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Secretary will read bills and resolutions for the second time.
Senate Bill 17 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, Ricky and Alyssa's Law, enact. Senate Bill 40 by Senator Hatchett of the 50th and others, secondary metals recyclers, the definition of the term used attached catalytic converters to said article provide for applicability. Senate Bill 51 by Senator Setzler of the 37th and others, state, county, and municipal road systems contracting procedures related to the acquisition of certain professional services by counties and municipalities, revised. Senate Bill 55 by Senator Hickman of the 4th and others, Dignity and Pay Act, enact. Senate Bill 88 by Senator Bearden of the 30th and others, Douglas Judicial Circuit, a 4th judge of the Superior Courts, provide. Senate Bill 98 by Senator Cowser of the 46th and others, Guardian and Ward, County Conservators, provide. Senate Bill 100 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and others, Andy's Law, enact. Senate Bill 105 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, veterinarians and veterinary technicians, licensed veterinarians and veterinary technicians to provide veterinary teleadvice, authorize. Senate Bill 110 by Senator Anna Vitarte of the 31st and others, definitions relative to the Juvenile Code, definition of neglect, and to provide for due definitions. Senate Bill 123 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th and others, compulsory attendance, provisions of the state's compulsory school attendance laws, update and revise. Senate Bill 125 by Senator Walker of the 3rd and of the 20th and others, professional engineers and land surveyors, decouple the sequential order of experience and examinations requirements. Senate Bill 127 by Senator Bearden of the 30th and others, contracts with small businesses, automatic renewal provisions, definitions, provide and revise. Senate Bill 138 by Senator Dixon of the 45th and others, incorporation of municipal corporations, transition of certain services related to newly incorporated municipalities and certain counties, provide. Senate Bill 139 by Senator Dixon of the 45th and others, City of Mulberry, change the corporate limits of the city. Senate Bill 144 by Senator Watts of the 11th and others, fertilizers or pesticides a manufacturer cannot be held liable for failing to warn consumers of health risks above those required by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, clarify. Mr. President, that completes the order.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Recognize Senator from the 16th. Senator from the 16th waves. Recognize the Senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, y'all. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senators from the 25th, the 9th, 43, 2, 14, 35, 7, and 10.
All
For
right.
business outside the Capitol.
The 25th, the 9th, the 43rd, the 2nd, the 14th, the 35th, the 7th, and the 10th?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Without objection, they are excused. Recognize Senator from the 44th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 40th, business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 40th is excused. Any other motions to excuse? Secretary will call the roll. Senator, signify your presence by voting the yea switch. Secretary will unlock the machine. We're going to go a little bit out of order this morning. We have a special guest here with us today. Congressman Rick Allen is with us today. He is in his 11th year serving the good people of Georgia, hailing out of Augusta, Georgia. Obviously, whenever our congressional delegation comes down to the state capitol, we always like to give them the opportunity to give us greetings and give us a little update on what's going on in D.C. And we're very glad to have Congressman Rick Allen with us today, and please give Congressman Allen a warm welcome here. Congressman?
Well, thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and greetings from the United States House of Representatives. You have a secure border today. We're going to start running Washington, D.C. the way you're running Georgia. Too bad it's been run like California and New York. We're going to change that, and you're seeing the benefit of that right now. Thank you for what you're doing for the state of Georgia. I get questions all the time about what are y'all doing down in Georgia. And I said, we're doing the right thing. We're serving people, and we're serving our people. And that's what we're to do, not bureaucrats serving themselves. And that's what we're cleaning up in Washington, D.C. I serve on the House Energy and Commerce Committee, which has jurisdiction over 80% of the economy. I am Vice Chair of Communications and Technology, and there's a lot of stuff going on in that area right now. And, of course, you're seeing that, the algorithms in Washington, D.C. right now, and that's part of this process. I also serve on the the Education Workforce Committee, and I'm chairman of the Health, Employment, Pension, and Labor Subcommittee there. So we got a lot going on. We're going to do some big things as far as ERISA is concerned. We're working on that. It's going to be part. We hope to pass budget reconciliation next week. It's going to be a part of that. And we're going to make employer-based insurance affordable again because people can't afford it. And we need to give it the same waivers that the unions and the faith-based community. So if y'all can help me with that, it's important. It will allow us to do what these two groups have done to make employer-based health insurance affordable again. Thank you. Keep up the great work. You make us in Washington look really good, and we're going to try to do what you sent us there to do, and I feel good about it. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
It is now time for our morning devotion. Thank you, Congressman, for being down here today. Appreciate your service to the state. It's time for our morning devotion. All senators, take your seats and cease all conversation. I would ask that the doorkeepers secure the chamber at this time. I now recognize the good senator from the 16th to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and introduce our chaplain of the day. Senator.
Thank you, sir. The American flag. I pledge allegiance. He is a friend. He is in my district as far as that. And Pastor or Dr. George Dillard will be speaking to us. He's from Peachtree City Christian Church. He is a dynamic speaker, author, and writer. But here's what I will tell you. Each time he speaks, he has a message that every one of us can use. And always an encouragement, sometimes some conviction, but he speaks the truth from that standpoint. He has a heart for missions, but he also has a heart for his own congregation and does a phenomenal job there in Peachtree City, the golf cart capital of the world. And with that, I'll ask George Dillard to come speak to us. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you. There's two groups of people I wish were here to hear that introduction. My elders, because they need to hear it, and my mom, because she would have believed it. But our congregation is currently engaged. We've got over 1,000 people who have pledged to read through the Bible in a year. And so what I pledge to do is bring a message from the reading for that particular day each Sunday. And when you do this, you know, I don't know how many times maybe you've done it, but I see something new and fresh, and something dawned on me out of Numbers chapter 20. Israel's complaining. You know, it seems like no matter how much you do for some people, they're never satisfied. And they're complaining that God has forgotten them, which is not true. And Moses goes and he pleads to God because they say they're going to die of thirst. And God says, go and speak to the rock and it'll bring forth water. And Moses goes and throws a temper tantrum, hits the rock twice with his staff, and the water comes forth. And God says, because you didn't listen to me, you're not going to enter the promised land. See, there's a difference between hearing and listening. Jesus literally says in the Gospels, he who has an ear to hear, let them listen. Because it's two different things. Nobody usually has trouble hearing me, but sometimes they have trouble listening. And when we don't listen, what happens is we tend to jump to conclusions, or we'll miss some very important issues. And see, I'm convinced that what Moses heard was staff, rock, water. And so he acted on what he heard, not what had been said. And so a couple of quick lessons for us. You know, whenever we're dealing with an issue, especially something that involves emotion and stuff, we need to do a couple of things, two things. We need to think about what's being said. That means that we need to think about who's saying what. Why is it important or unimportant? What is the motive? And does it help or hurt? You see, too many times we get so involved with how it affects us that we don't think about how it affects everybody else. Years ago, a group of people came to my office and asked for my assistance. My administrative assistant had worked for that organization for 20 years before coming to work for me. And so they came in, asked for my help, and I agreed that I would help them. And when they left, she came in and she said, "Are you going to help those people?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Because they asked for it." And she said, "Yeah, but don't you know how they talk about you?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And she said, "Do you really?" And I said, "Yeah, they say this, 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 this." And she said, "They do." And she said, "Doesn't that bother you?" I said, "No." She said, "Why not?" I said, "Because it's not true. And because they're not asking for themselves, they're asking for another group of people who I care deeply about." See, we got to think about things without letting emotion control us. Because emotions happen. You can't stop it. I mean, Moses should have been frustrated with the people of Israel, but he shouldn't have acted on it. So what we have to do is think about what is being said, who's saying it, why is it important, what is the motivation for it, and then we need to do what is best and right, regardless of the consequences. We have to look for the benefit beyond ourselves. We have to make sure that we respect each other, that we listen to each other, and not just hear each other. We are not all the same, but we are all equal. We are not going to have the same idea about every issue. But if we act intelligently, we listen, we consider the benefit for the greater good, then we can make decisions that are best and right. You know, James, the brother of Jesus, writes and says, everyone should be quick to hear, slow to speak, and even slower to anger. There are certain things that ought to anger us, but we can't allow that to control us. We are here, you are here, for the benefit of the people of the state of Georgia. And you have to sometimes put your self-interest aside and think about what is the best for everyone concerned, or the most people concerned. Because at the end of the day, we are members of the United States of America. We are citizens of the state of Georgia, but we are brothers and sisters, because we all, as the documents that founded this country say, we're all endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not based on anything other than the fact that we are created. We have a common DNA. And I think we get the greatest good for everyone when we think about what is being said, why it's being said, why is it important, is it true or not? You know, you can't let stuff bother you that's not true. Just because somebody says something that's not true doesn't mean you have to lose your mind. You just do what is right, what is best, what is honorable, what is good. And if we do that, we will have a great state and a great citizenry. And we will be a people admired in the world. Would you join me in a word of prayer? Father, we ask you to give us wisdom, clarity, and discernment. We ask you to help us to look to the greater good, to the common interest, to what is best and right. Father, help these men and women who serve to serve beyond themselves. And Father, we know what your word says, that it is more blessed to give than to receive, and that you will watch over us and guide us and direct us if we will just listen. And we give thanks for that. We ask your blessing upon this body, this state, this nation and the people of this world, that they might know your grace, mercy, forgiveness, and love. And we give you praise in the name of Jesus. Amen.
If I could have everyone's attention, we have always like to showcase and introduce our doctors of the day, and we have a special lady here with us that lives here in Atlanta, longtime anesthesiologist that works at Northside Hospital now. worked at Emory before that, and is a professor at Georgia State. Has got her medical degree from Vanderbilt University, so she comes with wonderful credentials, and she does a great job. And we appreciate her coming here and volunteering her time down here at the Capitol. Let's give a warm welcome to Ms. Florence LeGraw here today. Thank you.
Thank you. It is an honor to briefly introduce myself before this great group who cares so much about improving the health and well-being of Georgians. As he said, as an anesthesiologist, I just want to say, please, if you have any health concerns for you or your family, not only you, your colleagues, but anybody in the balcony, we have our clinic ready. Just ask anybody. They'll tell you where it is, and we will be more than happy to help. Thank you so much.
All right. We have several special presentations today, and secretaries, please read the caption.
Senate Resolution 182 by Senator Watson I and others, a resolution commending the impact of the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, DBHDD, Community Service Boards, CSBs, and first responders, and for other purposes. Whereas in 2022, the Georgia General Assembly passed Senate Bill 403, known as the Georgia Behavioral Health and Peace Officer Co-Responder Act, establishing the framework for co-responder programs, which brings together law enforcement officers and behavioral health professionals to respond to mental health crises. And whereas the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, DBHDD, has played a key role in supporting the implementation and coordination of co-responder teams through collaboration with first responders, community service boards, and behavioral health providers. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities and local co-responder programs for their role in responding to mental health crises, as well as acknowledge the importance of their continued operation throughout the state, and that the members of this body recognize February 19th, 2025 as Co-Responder Day of the state capitol. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. It is my pleasure to call on our senator from the first to recognize our special guest, Kevin Tanner, Commissioner. Does a great job with his department. They've got a tough job, but they do a very good job, and it's because of good leadership that we have there in that department with the commissioner. So, Senator, I'll let you speak to the resolution, and I'm glad y'all are here. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is indeed an honor to have DBHDD, Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. If you remember, in 2022, we sponsored here in the Senate, Senate Bill 403. This was the Georgia Behavioral Health and Peace Officer Co-Responder Act. And it's through this program that bridges the gap between law enforcement and mental health professionals to respond effectively to individuals in crisis. Let me just say this has been an important bill. It was started before we did this legislation. It was done in my area of Chatham County. It's been done in other areas, Gwinnett you'll hear about, Forsyth. And I won't take up any more of your time, but I think it's important to recognize and follow through with some of the legislation that we have done relating to co-responders and de-escalating crisis and mental health whether that's talking them off bridges or just making sure they have follow-up in their appointments. Let me recognize the Commissioner or Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, Kevin Tanner.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, Senators. It's an honor to be here today, and I appreciate all the work that this chamber has done to get us where we are with the co-responder program. The co-responder program, that model brings together a law enforcement officer and a mental health professional to respond and to ensure that those individuals in crisis is able to get the help that they need in the most desperate times of their lives. We have some great examples across Georgia of boots on the ground doing this tremendously well. Some of the folks responsible for this are here with us today. Carol McVeigh and Joy Bell run the program through our agency, and they're here with us. And Pej Madavi is here. He runs the Gwinnett program, and you have probably saw him on the news. He's been there several times for his successes of being able to bring people from crisis into treatment. We also have Officer Brian Valdidi, who is here with us today from Gwinnett County. We also have other representatives in the gallery, so I want to thank them for all they do. And Mr. President, I'd like to call on Pej to just say a few words about the program.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you so much for all your support. These co-responder programs are a collaborative initiative where mental health professionals work alongside law enforcement. When one of the community members dials 911 and they have a loved one in mental health crisis, not only do the police respond, us mental health professionals respond, and we can get them the help that they need. They don't need jail, they need resources, they need a doctor, they may need a hospital. So these programs have played a huge role, and I have seen how the community has responded, and they feel comfortable calling the police when their loved ones are in mental health crisis. Thank you so much for all of your support with this. Thank you.
We have several presentations today, but we got a very special group here from Sumter County, Georgia. And for those that might not know, it's a quaint little community down in southwest Georgia, and we are glad to have them here today. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Resolution 85 by Senator Sims of the 12th and others, a resolution commending America's Sumter County and recognizing February 19th, 2025 as America's Sumter County Day at the state capitol and for other purposes. Whereas Sumter County was established by an act of the Georgia General Assembly on December 26, 1831, becoming Georgia's 80th county, and whereas the city of Americus was established as the seat of Sumter County by an act of the Georgia General Assembly on December 22nd, 1832, and whereas America's Sumter County is home to South Georgia Technical College and Georgia Southwestern State University, and whereas Sumter County City of Plains is home to the 39th President of the United States, the late Jimmy Carter, and the late First Lady Rosalind Carter, who together brought international attention to Sumter County, Georgia. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend America's Sumter County for its many contributions to the state of Georgia and recognize February 19th, 2025 as America's Sumter County Day at the state capitol. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. I'll call on the good senator from the 12th that represents that area of the state. Senator, speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Ladies and gentlemen, it is definitely an honor to recognize and commend America's Sumter County and recognizing February 19th, 2025 as America's Sumter County Day at the state capitol and for other purposes. Whereas Sumter County was established by an act of the Georgia General Assembly on December 26, 1831, becoming Georgia's 80th county, whereas the City of Americas was established as the seat of Sumter County by an act of the Georgia General Assembly on December 22, 1832. And whereas the Sumter County City of Plains is home to the only president from the state of Georgia, the 39th President of the United States, the late Jimmy Carter, and the home of the late First Lady Rosalind Carter, who together brought international attention to Sumter County, Georgia. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend America's Sumter County for its many contributions to the state of Georgia and recognize February 19th, 2025 as America's Sumter County Day at our state capitol. I would like to introduce the mayor of Americus, Georgia, who will briefly introduce himself along with our guest on the podium. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Sims, for all that you do for Sumter County and Southwest Georgia in general. It's my honor to recognize a partial group from the delegation representing Americus and Sumter County today. We appreciate, Mr. President, your leadership in the Senate and senators for your support of important projects at two of our premier state institutions, Georgia Southwestern State University and South Georgia Technical College, and the funding that you have put into those institutions that are vitally important, not just to our region, but to the state. I would like to recognize David Baldwin, who is chairman of the Sumter County Board of Commissioners. I recognize Brandon Gross, who is the mayor of the city of Andersonville, Georgia, which hosts a national park. I would introduce Mr. Scott Carver, who is the county administrator for Sumter County, and Mrs. Deidre Powell, who is the city manager for the beautiful city of Americus, the shining city on the hill. And we appreciate their work and the work of this delegation, but also the greater delegation that's here today. We have a number of people. 30 people, over 30 people, including the CEO of Phoebe Sumter, the hospital, regional hospital in our area. We have representation from nonprofits, the business community. It is a fantastic group of leaders, and we call ourselves Sumter Strong. So if you see our pins today, we are Sumter Strong because in Sumter County, we believe that it is in unity that we find strength. Not municipal governments warring with the county and vice versa, but when we unite as one team, Sumter Strong, we will accomplish great things. And that's my pledge to you as state leaders, that in Sumter County you can rest assured that your dollars are being directed by people who work together for the common good. Yes, it's still possible to say the common good. In Sumter County, we believe it and we practice it. Thank you again. America's Sumter Day at the Capitol is a moment of pride for our community, and we are greatly appreciative to the Senate, Mr. Lieutenant Governor, and to certainly Senator Sims of the 12th for your support. Thank you.
All right. If I could have everyone's attention, we have some special guests here today. We're honoring one of our former members of this body, Senator Vincent Fort. Those of you who are like myself were able to serve with Senator Fort. Y'all know what a wonderful representation he was for the people of the District 39 that he represented, and what a force he was to have. If you had him on your team, he was a good teammate. If he was against you, he was going to let it be known that he was against you. So, Secretary, read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 100 by Senator Orrick of the 36 and others, a resolution honoring the life and memory of the Honorable Vincent D. Fort and for other purposes. Whereas the state of Georgia mourns the loss of one of its most distinguished citizens with the passing of the Honorable Vincent D. Fort on December 22nd, 2024, and whereas after he settled in Atlanta, Georgia, he became a respected historian, taught at Morehouse College and Morris Brown College, and whereas the Honorable Vincent D. Fort served as a Georgia State Senator for the 39th District from 1996 to 2017, representing parts of Atlanta, East Point, College Park, Union City, and unincorporated Fulton County. And whereas from 2011 to 2017, he served as the minority whip of the Georgia Senate Democratic Caucus. And whereas he was united in love and marriage to his wife Cheryl, and the two were blessed with 3 remarkable children, Naima, Clara Faith, and Zoe, as well as 3 wonderful grandchildren, Gazelle, Chloe, and Sunday. And whereas the Honorable Vincent D. Fort was a powerful voice for economic and racial equality, and his commitment to the people will leave a lasting impact on the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body join in honoring the life and memory of the Honorable Vincent D. Fort and express their deepest and most sincere regret at his passing. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. I'll tell you a quick story about Senator Fort before I call on the good Senator Orrock to present the resolution. But he was he was a lot of fun. There's 2 different personalities, Vincent. There was one you saw on TV because he made sure he got on TV a lot, and then there was a person that you get to know in the ante room back there, and he was engaging. He's very personable. He was smart. And he liked to laugh, and he liked to have a good time. And I never will forget, I was sitting right there where the senator from the 24th was sitting. I was a freshman legislator, and of course I didn't know what I was doing, and it was obvious. But some of the senior members, like Senator Fort, would take the young folks under our wing, and even though we were on opposite sides of party affiliation. You could learn a lot from somebody who had as much wisdom as Senator Fort did. And I would always laugh when he'd come down to the well and land blast, whatever it was we were doing for the day. He would always walk by my desk with a big old grin on his face, and he'd go, "How'd I do, Jones? How'd I do?" And so I always liked to cut up with him, and he was a treat to be around. And he'll be missed by, I know, his family. He'll be missed by the people he represented, because you were always clear where he was on representing the people of the city of Atlanta, especially the people who lived in his community in the city of Atlanta. So he will be missed. He made a big impact on this world and on this chamber. And I recognize the senator from the 36th to speak to the resolution. Senator?
Thank you so much, Governor. I think you have encapsulated a lot of the essence of Vincent Fort, and I just so appreciate the remarks that you just now shared. We're going to hear from others who served with Senator Fort. It's a bittersweet time for this day to come. He died too young. He was 68 when we lost him to cancer that returned and that he battled, just like he fought all of his other fights. With his whole heart. Lieutenant Governor Jones really captured the fact that he was a person of great heart and great humanity, a lover of humanity, but don't get on the wrong side of him, because he'll tell that piece of humanity what he thinks they ought to be doing. And I don't think there's a soul in here that served with him that doesn't understand and appreciate the multiple facets of Vincent Fort. He was devoted to his family. He was a man of deep faith. One of his closest influencers in his life was the pastor at his church. And he would speak about that privately. He didn't wave a flag about it, but it was part of Senator Fort's essence. And he knew people in places high and low. He wound up with a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award that was presented to him in Washington. I was on the phone to him in his final weeks, and he said, "Nan, I've got to go because Bernie's calling." And he hung up the phone and took the call from Senator Sanders. He was known widely in Atlanta and in Fulton County and really around the state as a person who was going to stand up for the little people. He totally believed in grassroots, the power of the grassroots and the urgency to bring the message from the grassroots to the highest halls of power. I'll wrap up my remarks up because others who served with him are going to be able to speak as well. But I would say we battled landfills before he was ever elected. We battled the proliferation of landfills in poor and minority communities and the degradation that they brought to those communities. And Zell Miller signed the bill that we championed. He was not elected then. He was over at City Hall at that point. And I will also flag, he took on predatory lending, which was the scourge of the nation. Caused banks to fail, caused countless people to lose their homes. And he took that on, and he worked closely with the Barnes administration, and they signed into law Vincent Fort's bill of protecting consumers and created the strongest consumer protection lending act on the books in any legislature in America. That was in the last term, last weeks of Senator Barnes' term in that session. And so he was always there, and he would always call on me, "O'Rock, we got to be here, we got to be there, we got to go." And because he never, I guess I would say the one excess he had was that he never cut off, there was never a limit to what he would take on and try to work and change. And he cherished the friendships he had here, and Jack Hill was one of, he would take me down with him to sit on the couch in Jack's office, and he would work for the money, for the technical school, for the Atlanta Metropolitan College, for worthy causes. He never served for self. He served for the people. That's who he was, and we're so pleased to have his family with us today. His son Zan, his daughter Zoe, and Cheryl Cogburn, the mother of his children. I'm going to ask Zan to come forward after we've had some other folks speak, and I'll present the resolution. Thank you so much. Carol Jones.
Thank you. The family, of course, already knows this, but Vincent was, just a really great man. He was the whip when I got elected for the Democratic caucus for many years. No matter what the issue was when you dealt with Vincent, he was ready to come to the well and vociferously give his opinion on whatever it may be. And he could do it on any particular issue. He never had notes. That was something also that I saw about him. He never had notes. And I came to learn that he went to the well almost every time an issue came up because he was really a true public servant. He cared deeply about people, all people. And when I took his place as whip, I realized very early that I would not be able to follow his footsteps as far as coming to the well and maybe being as vociferously as he talked about issues. But what I did see is that I kept following his footsteps as far as caring about people, as far as wanting to serve people of Georgia. And that is the footsteps that all of us actually strive to get to. We may not always come to the well. We may not talk as eloquently as he did, but certainly we can care about our constituents and we can care about the people of Georgia the way Vincent did. So we thank him for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader Jones. And the senator who's serving in his 50th year, Senator Lucas, knew Vincent for a long, long time and is going to share a word with us.
to the Ford family, Vincent reminded me of a tune that talks about a lady that had 7 kids and her husband had died. And in the whole process, I look at Vincent when 2013 came around and I came to the Senate. That was that guy with that big wide grin. Big wide grin, welcoming me to the Senate and telling me, Luke, I know you've been over there, but now you over here, and the rules change. I said, Vincent, what do you mean? He said, well, first of all, you got to go through me in order to get anything done. And so Fort was fun, but he was serious at the same time. And I think that those who served with him knew him, understood that he would fight, had no problems about fighting, whether you're the lieutenant governor or the governor. And so you have to give credit to a man who stood by principles and decided that he was going to be a servant leader rather than just an elected person. And we thank him for his service to this state and his service in the Georgia Senate.
Thank you, Senator Lucas. Very well said. And I'd like to recognize Zan Thornton, the son of Senator Fort, to come forward with the family, with Zoe and Ms. Cogburn, and receive us. We hold him in our hearts, and we thank you all for sharing him with us, because it's a sacrifice, as you all know, when you come into public service. And he loved you dearly, talked about you endlessly, only surpassed by when he took on that bad buck dog that he was always walking. But we want to present you this with all the love that comes with it, the appreciation. He was a true hero for his time, and to be emulated by those who come after him. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Zan Ford. Obviously, I'm Senator Ford's son. I wanted to sincerely thank Senator Orrock and everybody else for having us here and honoring my father in this fashion. I did not have any prepared remarks. However, there are a few things I did want to touch on. Some of were touched on by Lieutenant Governor Jones. Particularly, he loved getting that well, and he loved speaking truth to power. Now, being a, forgive me, Father, a loudmouth, short man with very strong convictions, and a Democrat, it was very, sometimes it was like, putting your finger in a dam, right, in Georgia. But with that said, there's nothing more that he loved more, that he took more pleasure. As many times he would call me and say, hey, watch this. And he would go down there and try to rip somebody a new one. And I love that about him, because his ability to fight was tireless and never ending. His energy to throw one more punch, to push back and hold the line when nobody else is willing. He was able to stand out there and do that, and it's very inspiring for me. He, of course, came into the Senate in '96. I was about 13 years old, stayed here for about 20 years, a little bit more than, and of course, as he grew into maturity as a legislator, I grew into maturity as a man. And there are some pretty significant parallels between the two, right? And I learned a lot from him and received a lot from him just from being a fly on the wall. A lot of people shake my hand on both sides, of course, and a lot of you guys, I've heard a lot of stories, and I've been there when he strategized how he was going to try to take some of you down or assist some of you. So just being here, it warms my heart because it allows me to be a little bit closer to my father. I feel covered by him. And so for anybody else out there, again, like Jones said, when he was a freshman, if you're new to this, and this is what this is where you want to go with your life, please just try to channel the spirit of fighting and fighting for what's right. Like I said, with my father, you always knew what side he stood on. You know, whether it was against you or for you, you knew where he was going to be. You didn't have to wonder, and you didn't have to guess, and you didn't have to wonder if he was going to flip-flop or change sides on you. So yeah, take that for what it is, guys. I mean, apply it to yourselves. I mean, most of you guys are very accomplished and been around for quite a while. But there's always something we can learn from those who come before us and from those who come after us as well. So again, thank you. My family thanks you, and we appreciate being here.
If I could have your attention one more time. We have a special guest here today. If I get your... If I get everybody's attention real quick. As we had earlier here, we had Congressman Rick Allen. Obviously, our delegation, federal delegation, is not in session this week, and so most of those men and women are back in Georgia, and a lot of them are coming here to see us. And I'm glad to have my congressman, the congressman from the 10th District, Mike Collins. Mike is not only my congressman, but he's my neighbor too. So we're able to get our roads paved every once in a while, believe it or not, because of the good congressman and how popular he is. So, but please give a warm welcome to Congressman Mike Collins today.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Listen, I just wanted to stop in real quick and tell you a couple things. Number one, it is an honor to serve you in Congress. It's a privilege to be up there, and we love what we're doing. We're working hard for you. And that leads me to this. I know you are helping us with Lake and Riley Act, and you don't know how much I appreciate that. That piece of legislation, y'all, is the first piece of immigration enforcement legislation that was passed into law in 30 years, and it is already been successful. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your phone calls. The two things I want to leave you with real quick now, Lieutenant Governor. Number one, they gave me the chairmanship on a subcommittee in transportation infrastructure, and it's called the Water Subcommittee. We've got jurisdiction over all federal waters, WOTUS, Clean Water Act, all the ports in the country. If you have an issue and you need federal help, call on us. That's what we're up there for. I'm there to work for you to get that done, and we'll be glad to look at it for you. If it fits in our wheelhouse, we'll run with it. The other thing is, I want to leave you with just two short words. Tort reform. We need it. We need it in this state. We need it on a federal level, and I'm going to work on it on the federal level, but we need it in this state badly. Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. And I forgot about he had the first bill signed with for the new administration of the Lincoln Riley Act, and Congressman Collins is doing a great job, and we appreciate all his hard work and his public service. So thank you all very much for allowing him to speak. Are there any unanimous consents? Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Recognize the senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, Senators, I'd like to tell y'all that on your desk today, we've got a book. We're going on a bear hunt. So please take that home to your children or your grandchildren, or you may just want to read it yourself, if you would, please. But most of all, I'm here to recognize the Reach Out and Read Day. Good morning. Good morning. Today we gather to recognize an intervention that is truly transformative, one that builds a bridge between health care and education, ensuring that every child can succeed. It is my honor today to introduce Reach Out and Read, an evidence-based program that is making a profound difference in the lives of Georgia's youngest learners. Children who experience Reach Out and Read enter kindergarten with stronger language skills, better social emotional development, and a greater readiness to learn. Reach Out and Read is a research-driven, pediatric-led intervention that ensures families have the tools and knowledge to make reading a daily habit from the very start. And we know the very start now actually begins in the trimester of the pregnancy. The research is clear. Children who are read to from infancy develop stronger language skills, greater cognitive abilities, and a lifelong love of learning. Reach Out and Read empowers pediatricians to prescribe books and encourage families to make reading a daily habit, setting children on a path to success long before they ever step foot in the classroom. It is my honor to stand before you today to recognize a program that is transforming the way we support children's learning and development. Senate colleagues, please join me in recognizing the Reach Out and Read people in the balcony. If y'all would please stand up, please. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for being here. Mr. President, I yield the will.
Recognize the senator from the 32nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday, you may have received on your desk this book. It's called The Whole Child Primer, and it's put out every year by Voices for Georgia's Children. If you did not get your copy for whatever reason, there are more in the Secretary of the Senate's office. And I also will point out that they are hosting a reception from 5 to 7 today in the Atlanta City Hall atrium. So if you're free at that time, I know they'd love to have you. Thanks, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize the senator from the 51st.
Good morning, colleagues. My pleasure today to recognize a group in the gallery. There have been a lot of people up there this morning, so some groups have come and gone, but it's an honor to have Melanie Dallas. She's the CEO of the Highlands Rivers Behavioral Health Group. They're from North Georgia. They serve 13 counties throughout the region, part of which is my district, Fannin, Gilmer, and Pickens County. Highland Rivers provides comprehensive treatment, support, and recovery services for adults, youth, families, and veterans affected by mental health disorders and intellectual development disabilities. This summer, the Highland Rivers and Viewpoint Health will co-host the National Co-Responder Conference from June 1st through the 14th here in downtown Atlanta. You'll find a flyer about it sponsored by me on your desk. I hope you'll take a look at that, and I hope you'll participate in that and continue to support the great work that the Highland Rivers Behavioral Health Group is doing. And please help welcome this group to the Senate Gallery at this time. Thank you.
Recognize the senator from the 22nd for a point of personal privilege.
Also, on behalf of the senator from the 24th and the 23rd, who also represents the greater Augusta area. The greater Augusta area is one known for our golf, James Brown, but also being a place with deepest respect for our military, with Fort Eisenhower being a staple in our community. Our military veterans are a staple of our community, and they bring so much to our community. Being the son of two veterans, I realize the sacrifices that our veterans have made to make sure that our way of life, of freedom and prosperity continues. So today, we actually have veterans from the greater Augusta region here with us today to watch us and do other things. And so please join me in welcoming our veterans from the greater Augusta region. Thank you. And with that, Mr. President, I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from the 28th. Senator from the 28th. You'd like to do your point of personal privilege from your desk? Floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today is Midwife Day at the Capitol. They are here to shed light on the invaluable role of midwives and the pressing need to recognize their significance in our health care system. Midwives are compassionate caregivers, advocates for health care, guardians for mothers and newborns, and pillars of support during one of life's most beautiful journeys. They undergo vigorous training that spans 3 to 5 years. They are equipped to handle countless emergencies during childbirth, offering good care that prioritizes maternal well-being and safety. My grandmother and my great-grandmother were midwives in the state of Georgia. This is a crucial part that we need to look at, even in racial disparities in maternal health, where Black women face alarming rates of complications and mortality, surpassing even some nations in the world. Studies show that midwifery-led care results in lower rates of intervention like C-sections and infant mortality, offering a cost-effective alternative base for many people, especially in Georgia. So please welcome the midwives. I feel we might still have some up in the gallery and others are across the hall. So if you're there, please stand, but let's give them a warm welcome. Some of you might have even been born with a midwife. So thank you very much. And they are here in room 123 if you want to go by and say hello or ask questions and get some of the tasty treats that's down there too. Thank you.
Recognize the senator from the 53rd.
Hey, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to recognize some fine nurses from Northwest Georgia, from Georgia Northwestern Technical College up in the gallery. And Northwest Georgia can certainly use a few more nurses. So we appreciate you coming down to the Capitol today. Make sure you lobby these legislators. All right? We appreciate you being here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 29th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, as the senator from the 29th, I have the honor of representing Meriwether County, and I know today we've got some students here from Flint River Academy, if they want to stand up. Flint River Academy is a prime example of school choice and parents doing what they feel is best for their children. Flint River Academy puts out an incredible product into the community, and we're extremely proud of the young men and young women that attend there, and we welcome you here at the Capitol today. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
All right, good to have the young people from Woodbury, Georgia here today, Senator. Appreciate that. Glad to have Flint River Academy here. Recognize the senator from the 17th. Excuse me, 37th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, today is Kennesaw State University Day at the Capitol. We're celebrating Kennesaw State as it continues to be one of the fastest growing universities in the United States. This fall, Kennesaw State has the largest freshman class of any university in the state. It will have the largest freshman class of any university in the state, and the enrollment is expected to grow to right about 48,000 students. One thing, Mr. President, I think is important about Kennesaw State's contribution to our state is that while there are over 150,000 alumni worldwide, 89% of Kennesaw State graduates, 89% of Kennesaw State graduates choose to stay in Georgia and work out their careers. You know, the purpose of the Hope Scholarship Program back 30 plus years ago was to keep talent in our state, and Kennesaw State is really a picture of that. Mr. President, Kennesaw State's the top producer in Georgia of people with degrees in education. It's the top producer in Georgia by number of nurses, and is the second largest in computing and engineering programs in our state. We've got a pamphlet on your desk, talks about Kennesaw State and its contributions as an RT university. There were students here. They had to go back to class, so they're not with us anymore. But with that, I'd just like to highlight Dr. Kathy Swag. She's here on the rope line today talking to many of you, and would you like to commend Kennesaw State for their continued excellence in serving our students and serving our state. Thank you, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 5th.
I was listening to some of my colleagues talking about Senator Vincent Ford. I just want to take a moment to give my tribute to my friend Senator Ford. A lot of people don't realize that his impact was not only in Atlanta, throughout the state. I met him many years ago outside Metro Atlanta. I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be a state senator without the guidance, without the mentorship of Senator Vincent Ford. I just want to put it out there. He always supported me, helped me. When I wanted to run for office, he encouraged me, and he told me, yes, I can be here. I never served with him at the Senate, but I served with him all around the state for years before I got here. So I just want you to know. I want my friend Vincent Ford, I know, rest in power. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. I see we have some very special guests from Henry County here. We've got Senator from the 17th, beautiful two little boys and his beautiful wife, Lindsay. Let's give all of them a round of applause here. They're growing up. They're growing up. Cute little boys. Hey guys, when y'all get done over there, y'all come up here. I got a couple of things for you. So when y'all get done down there. So I'm gonna give you some candy. Don't tell your dad. So all right, recognize the senator from the 50th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today because it is Habersham County Day at the Capitol. There are a lot of citizens here, and we've got the leadership Habersham class for 2025 here. If you see people from Habersham, please welcome them. And with that, Mr. President, I'll yield the well.
Recognize the senator from the 18th, the pro tem.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President. I know we've got a lot of folks from back home, as so many of y'all have come to the well and welcome people to the Capitol today, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to end by giving you an invitation to the Freight Depot this evening, but I want to rise to celebrate Macon Day at the Capitol for 2025 as we honor the unique qualities that make Macon, I think, a shining example of the excellence of this great state we get to live in. It's my honor to get to represent part of Bibb County, Macon-Bibb, which is consolidated government, along with the senator from the 25th and the senator from the 26th. You know, Macon has long been known as the birthplace of Southern rock, to also serving as a healthcare hub to Middle and South Georgia. One of the outstanding examples of Macon's commitment to leadership is the organization called Leadership Macon. Their class is up here with us today, and I think many have come through the gallery already and headed on out, and they've got different meetings. But I do want to welcome the Leadership Macon class. It is a great example of building leaders for tomorrow for our community back home. We've also got several folks from our Chamber of Commerce that are here. They exemplify the leadership, the entrepreneurship, and the hard work that I would tell you and submit makes Macon an exceptional place to live, work, and raise a family. So join me as you see the folks around today, please, and welcome my folks from back home here. And also, please join us tonight or this afternoon at 4:30, from 4:30 to 7 at the Freight Depot. It's the Macon Day Fish Fry. We're going to have some great food and some live music, and I think there's going to be opportunities for anybody in this chamber that wants to get on stage and demonstrate your musical talent. There'll be an opportunity for that as well. So with that, Mr. President, I'll yield the well. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize the senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to just honor Senator Fort and just tell y'all a quick story. It's only going to take me about 30 minutes. But first time I met the good senator from the 39th, we were in a Fulton County delegation meeting, and other senators were there, but I know the senator from the 36th was in there, and they were fussing about Fulton County delegation getting cut up and whatnot, and kept on, and we had actually, Senator Fort and I never formally met, and finally they'd been going for a little bit, and specifically Senator Fort was going, and I finally said, well, Senator, the President Obama's DOJ would disagree with you on those maps because they approved them. And he got quiet, and he sat up, and then he looked down at my badge because I'm pretty sure he didn't know who I was, and he said, "Senator, I didn't interrupt you, and I don't expect you to interrupt me." And I said, "Whoa, you're right. I apologize." And so I backed off. And fast forward later that evening, we were down at the freight depot for an evening, and I saw him walking up to the bar, and I ran over to him. I said, "Senator, I wanted to apologize for earlier. My heart and my tongue got out ahead of my brain there." And he slapped me on the back. He goes, "Brass, you gonna be all right. Let's get a beer." And so we got a beer, and that was that. And so, that was a lesson. He taught me not to take it personal. And it took me a couple more years to figure it out. But seriously, we come down here and we fight. We fight for those we believe in, and he did a fine job of doing that. And we're not always going to agree, but we just don't take it personal, and that's how we got to do it. And one other thing I'll say, today is Nursing Day here at the Capitol, so we got RNs from all over the state visiting. You'll see them in your white coats. We also got nursing students here as well, so y'all be sure to say hello to them. They are an important part of our state and take care of the folks that we take care of as well. So y'all please say hello to them. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize the Senator from the 14th.
Colleagues, this is not Trump Morning News. But on the theme, and in recognition of Senator Ford's passing today, and in honor of what we just heard from the Senator from the 6th, I do want to say that there was a little bit of redlining on the Washington meter recently that a couple of colleagues complained about. And what I do want to emphasize is, I can speak for, I think, the vast majority of my colleagues, if not all, that the reason we come to the well and we do this is A, because we mean it, and we care about these issues, but B, we care about you, and we know you care about us. Now, all of us are capable to our limited and varying degrees of how much we can care for each other and how much we can show it, but I want to be 100,000% clear in response to that general discussion, in keeping with our memories and our honoring of the legacy of Senator Ford today, that it's not worth making all the noise if it doesn't have a foundation of genuinely trying to persuade and genuinely trying to find some kind of consensus that we're all trying to do this together. So if I annoy you or if others annoy you, just recall that in our own cognition about what's happening, we think we're doing what we're supposed to do. And we're doing it with the spirit of community and fellowship. And if those words ring hollow to you, I'm happy to discuss in the anteroom, but I mean them. So with that, Mr. President, just want to add my honor to Senator Fort's legacy, and I'll yield the well. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize the Senator from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it. Have been speaking on tort reform, and most of that has been with corporations and things of that nature, but this is an interesting process that it also affects individual citizens that we need to be aware of. There was a family who was dragged through litigation after they cut down a tree on their own property. A lawyer found their tree permit and sent a demand letter for $111,000, supposedly on behalf of the family's neighbor, and then sued them for illegal conversion of timber. This was a neighborhood in metropolitan Atlanta, not some vast timber tract. The $111 million settlement demand hung over the family's head for 8 months while the lawyer poured through their personal lives in discovery, and the family had to engage their own attorney as well. When they got to depose their neighbor, who was apparently suing them, they claimed they weren't aware of what was going on. There was nothing there, purely a fictitious lawsuit with a quick payback. Tort reform in Senate Bill 68 would put a stop to the abusive practices for making sure that the expensive discovery is on hold while the defendant argues a case is frivolous. It doesn't stop the parties from figuring out who all should be in the case, but it does halt the threat of invasive and expensive full recovery. Plaintiffs already have an advantage of deciding whether to file a lawsuit in the first place and can push negotiations through things on hold. This is one of several needed and reasonable measures of Senate Bill 68 and Senate Bill 69 to provide fairness and balance and access to the court system. Make sure it isn't loaded up with abusive lawsuits and cuts costs for businesses and families. Tort reform not only affects businesses, but it affects individuals of frivolous lawsuits, and we need to protect those that we represent from frivolous lawsuits that affect their personal lives. Thank you, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 55th.
Colleagues, I take this moment to honor that gentleman that we call Senator Vincent Ford. I knew that man before he was in office, and we fought several battles. It was not about a title. It was about standing for the people and speaking truth to power. And sometimes we can take it for granted that we have power. And in honor of that Vincent Ford that I remember, in fact, I remember while serving in the House of Representatives on the other side of the building in the General Assembly here, that we fought on predatory lending. And that was just amazing, the power that came to bear and the fight to save the people's homes. And in that regard, I want to, as I can hear Vincent saying, I need to speak about Black history, because sometimes people don't want to hear that unpleasant truth, but I say that because I couldn't believe the people who were fighting us on predatory lending. And I go back to right after the Civil War, there was a gentleman by the name of Bishop Henry McNeil Turner. He was a 12th AME bishop. And he got a chance to speak to this body. And he got a chance to say about the 2 senators and 25 African Americans who stood in this place and who were expelled simply because of their race. And we have to remember that history because we take it for granted, the power and the privilege that we have. And I had to catch myself because I take it for granted so many things. As I walk past those people that were under that bridge, when I go past those people under that bridge, I take it for granted that I can have a place to sleep tonight. And I take it for granted, but it's not because of race. And I take it for granted that a gentleman that was excluded on the other side of the and I was so quick. In fact, the guy said I stood up for him, but I stood up because I remember these guys were excluded in 1868. I stood up for that guy to have the right to go in that other chamber because in 1964, Julian Bond, because he was stating his beliefs, his First Amendment rights, was excluded, had to go all the way to the Supreme Court of this nation. And now I'm concerned that democracy is at bay and that we are compromising our principles of what makes this America great. And it is an independent judiciary. It is a 3-legged stool. And I say that because unless we are permitted to diversify this legislature with people that look like me, we take it for granted now, and I say we can never take it for granted. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the reason this is important because segregation allows you to degrade me, to make me less than a human, and that's why there were men saying, holding up signs saying, I am a man. And those people under the bridge, they are people. And I challenge every one of you to go past those people standing under those bridges and not objectify them, but become one of them. And I guarantee you we'll do a few things differently. Randall Mang, the senator from the 55th, yields the well because it is important to stand up for what I can hear Vincent saying. Who's speaking up for those people under that bridge? Those people that are sitting and sleeping out there in 30-degree weather. We have to remember that they are our brothers and our sisters also. Does it make sense? It does. It matters that they are part of the human race also. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice, not just for the powerful and the privileged, but for all. I yield the well. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Does anyone else wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Senator from the 17th, you want to rise on a point of personal privilege? Oh, the 42nd, I'm sorry, yeah. We would really like to hear from you, Senator, if you want to. No, I'm kidding. All right, moving on. You have before you a consent calendar of privilege resolutions. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution on the consent calendar? Chair hears none. The resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw? Recognize the senator from the 31st. For what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to the Senate to immediately...
Hold on 1 second, Senator.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Getting a little ahead of me there, but I appreciate you paying attention. You have a local calendar, Senate local consent calendar resolutions. Is there objection to any of the local resolutions? Secretary, read the captions.
Mr. President, there are no objections.
Local government operations is there objection to agreeing to the report of committee on the state and local governmental operations, which is favorable to the passage of the bill on the local consent calendar? Chair hears none. Report of the committee is agreed to. Questions on the passage of the bill on the locals consent calendars. All those in favor will vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bills, yeas are 51 and the nays are 0. This bill having on the local consent calendar, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Recognize the senator from the 31st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate immediately transmit HB 359 to the House.
The senator has moved that the Senate immediately transmit HB 359 to the House. Is there objection? Without objection, the motion carries. Recognize the majority leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent that the following bills and resolutions be engrossed: Senate Bill 45, Senate Bill 59, Senate Bill 89, and Senate Resolution 56.
Secretary, read the captions.
Senate Resolution 56 by Senator Watson the 11th and others, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to increase the maximum acreage to qualify for assessment and taxation as a bona fide conservation use property, to provide for related matters, to provide for the submission of this amendment for ratification or rejection, and for other purposes. Senate Bill 45 by Senator Watson the 11th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-5-7.4 of the official code of Georgia annotated related to preferential assessment for bona fide conservation use property and bona fide residential transitional property, so as to increase the maximum acreage to qualify for assessment and taxation as a bona fide conservation use property, and for other purposes. Senate Bill 59 by Senator Watson of the 11th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-5-7.4 of the official code of Georgia annotated related to preferential assessment for bona fide conservation use property and bona fide residential transitional property, and for other purposes. Senate Bill 89 by Senator Strickland of the 42nd and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the official code of Georgia annotated related to income taxes so as to increase the amount of a tax credit based on the federal tax credit for certain child and dependent care expenses to 40% of such federal tax credit, to provide for a child income tax credit, to provide for definitions, to provide for limitations and proration, to provide for rules and regulations, to revise a tax credit for employers providing child care, to decrease the number of children who use the facility that are required to be children of employees to qualify for such credit, to increase the amount of such credit, to provide for related matters, to provide for an effective date and applicability, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
All right, the majority leader has moved that Senate Bill 45, 59, 89, SR 56 all be engrossed. Would you like to speak to the motion? Is there objection? There is objection. Senator, you can speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we start our calendar out this morning, ask for this engrossment vote, hoping our senators that aren't in their seats will move in this direction. We're going to need 29 votes to pass this engrossment motion. These four pieces of legislation have been properly vetted in the Finance Committee, and as tradition, we engross finance bills and other bills that come from the Ethics Committee. So I ask for your favorable vote to engross these four pieces of legislation, and we will move on to committee work this afternoon. Thank you, Mr. President.
The senator from the 41st objective. Would you like to wait? You said you're going to waive. Okay. She has waived. Okay, so we're going to vote on the engrossment of all the Senate Bill 45, 59, 89, and 56. All those in favor of the majority leader's motion to engross will vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the motion to engross, the yeas are 31, the nays are 21, and the motion has prevailed for Senate Bill 45, 59, 89, and SR 56 to be engrossed. Senator from the 26th, for what purpose do you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Was SR 56 a constitutional majority?
Yes, sir, it was. That's correct.
But was that a constitutional majority vote on the resolution?
I don't believe it was. I don't believe it was. Let me check real quick. He said, is it a constitutional? As the secretary just explained to me, it takes 29 to engross, but it takes 38 to adopt it. So when it comes up, moving on to the rules calendar. We have SR 56. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Resolution 56 by Senator Watson the 11th and others, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to increase the maximum acreage to qualify for assessment and taxation as a bona fide conservation use property, to provide for related matters, to provide for the submission of this amendment for ratification or rejection, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Finance recommends that this resolution do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Hustetler, 52nd District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 11th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to first start out by saying thank you to you, Mr. President, and your office, and we're going to have a series of bills here dealing with our conservation use program across our state, and just want to thank you and your office and your staff for your leadership on this issue, but also want to thank the Senate Farmland Study Committee that met over the summer to bring these pieces of legislation together, and I wanted to thank the senator from the 4th for his chairmanship on that committee as we traveled and met all over the state to bring forward these recommendations, but also the senator from the 21st, the senator from the 35th, the senator from the 8th, the senator from the 12th, and the senator from the 31st, who all served on this bipartisan committee that met over the summer to do this. Our CUVA conservation laws they were put into law in 1991. They've not been updated since then. Obviously, agriculture has changed, farming has changed. Our family farms are getting much larger today, and that's why today we're bringing forward Senate Resolution 56 to ask the voters of Georgia to allow us to increase the amount of land that one individual can own from 2,000 acres to 4,000 acres. So that was put into law in 1991 by the General Assembly and signed by the governor. Today we're wanting to ask the voters to allow us to increase that due to the increase in our farms and our farming operations, so that you're not penalized if you own more than 2,000 acres. Today you can put 2,000 acres in your individual name, your spouse's name, and your child's name, and we just want to be able to try to clean that up and allow for an individual to put 4,000 in their sole name. And that's what the resolution does. Mr. President, I'll be glad to take any questions if there are any.
You have no questions, Senator?
Thank you, and I greatly appreciate your support.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Is there any senator who would like to object to the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of committee which is favorable to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the adoption of the resolution. All those in favor of the resolution will vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. And Senator, this is the one that needs 2/3 vote. On the adoption of the resolution, the yeas are 51, the nays are 1. The resolution having received the requisite 2/3 constitutional majority is therefore adopted. Move on to SB 45. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 45 by Senator Watson, the 11th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-5-7.4 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to preferential assessment for bona fide conservation use property and bona fide residential transitional property so as to increase the maximum acreage to qualify for assessment and taxation as a bona fide conservation use property, to provide for related matters, to provide for contingent effective date and automatic repeal, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Finance recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Hostetler of the 52nd District, Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 11th. Speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. And to this body, just thank you for your support on that last measure. Greatly appreciate that and thankful for your support on that. Senate Bill 45 is the enabling legislation for the resolution. So basically what we're doing here is you'll see that we've struck through 2,000 and raised it to 4,000 throughout this piece of legislation. And again, we've done some changes to our CUVA law over the past several years. One of the most recent ones was to allow family farm entities to purchase land together that may or may not be related, but are farming together. And so again, that's kind of what we're doing in this legislation, is just enabling the constitutional amendment. If the voters approve it, then we'll move forward, and I'll be glad to take any questions if there are any.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Greatly appreciate your support.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? I apologize. I got my House floor leader back here, and he said something that I found very comical, so I had to laugh for a second. But hearing none, is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary, enlighten the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Senate Bill 59. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 59 by Senator Watson, the 11th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-5-7.4 of the official code of Georgia annotated related to preferential assessment for bona fide conservation use property and bona fide residential transitional property so as to remove a limitation on leased property as to certain entities, to provide for related matters, to provide for an effective date of applicability, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Finance recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd District, Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 11th.
Thank you, Mr. President. And again, thank this body for their support on that last measure, and I promise this will be the last one. But again, this is another one of our recommendations that came from our Farmland Preservation Study Committee over the summer. This is dealing with farming, family farm entities and forming LLCs. Current law does not allow family farm entities that come together and form an LLC to go out and lease land from a third party. If you do that today, then you actually breach the covenant of the landowner. And so all we're wanting to do in this legislation is allow two family farm entities to come together to be able to go out and lease land, to farm that land and keep it in conservation use, and still get the benefit without having to worry about the fear of going into a breach of covenant. We had several farmers that came and testified that experienced this firsthand, and so that's why we brought the legislation forward. And again, just thank everybody for their support on all these measures, and I'll be glad to take questions if there are any.
Yeah, no questions, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President, and greatly appreciate y'all's support. Thank you.
Does any other senator from the 50th, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 19th for business outside the chamber.
Without objection, the senator from the 19th is excused. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objections to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of committee which is favorable to the passage of this bill? Chair hears none. The report of committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Question on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. All opposed nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50 and the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. I just want to thank Senator from the 11th for authoring this bill. Also, senators from the 31st, the 12th, 35th, 11th, 8th, and the 4th. These senators traveled all over the state, literally all over the state, on a study committee putting this together. And they put a lot of hard work into it, and I know it's very meaningful to the ag community that we got this done. So thank you very much, Senator, for doing that, and we appreciate all your hard work. Recognize the senator from the 52. For what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, I was just hoping that the senator from the 8th would take notes from the senator from the 11th how to concisely present a farm bill.
Well, they're equally very effective at their ways of doing things. You got the strong silent type, and then you've got the dapper blueberry farmer from Lowndes County. Senator from the 51st, what purpose do you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true the passion and the eloquence of the speech from the senator from the 8th caused the senator from the 53rd to vote for his bills?
Sure. Oh.
unlike the senator from the
Wow.
11th.
It's a very good point. Very good observation there. We know who to lobby the senator from the 53rd now on some big issues, right? All right, moving on here. Secretary Reed, Senate Bill 89.
Senate Bill 89 by Senator Strickland of the 42nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to income taxes so as to increase the amount of a tax credit based on the federal tax credit for certain child and dependent care expenses to 40% of such federal tax credit, to provide for a child income tax credit, to provide for definitions, to provide for limitations and proration, to provide for rules and regulations, to revise a tax credit for employers providing child care, to decrease the number of children who use the facility that are required to be children of employees to qualify for such credit, to increase the amount of the credit, to provide for related matters, to provide for an effective date and applicability, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Finance recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Hufstedler of the 52nd District, Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 42nd. Speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. This past year, with the backing of our Lieutenant Governor, this body created the Senate Study Committee on Access to Affordable Child Care. I was honored to get the chair of this committee as we dove deep into this issue. We heard from business leaders about the impact this issue is having on their workforces. We heard from those that operate child care facilities about the challenges they face, including addressing child care need for their employees. We heard creative ideas about what other states are doing to address the problem that's not unique to Georgia. We learned more about how our CAPS program is helping lift families into the workforce and how nonprofits are helping fill the gap with after-school programs. The one group we did not hear directly from were those working moms and dads that sit around their kitchen table at night after their kids are asleep and crunch numbers, trying to figure out, does it even make sense to go work given the high cost of child care versus what you can make in the workforce? Working parents have to make difficult decisions about the futures of their families as they face the reality of just how expensive it now is to raise a child. These working moms and dads can't afford a lobbyist. They don't have the time to come down to the Gold Dome to lobby us, but their voices were the loudest voices in the room during our committee hearings. A few statistics. There's currently, right at approximately 732,000 children in our state under the age of 6. 68% of these children are in the care of a single parent that works or two working parents. The annual yearly infant tuition now exceeds that of in-state tuition for a four-year institution in our state. It's more expensive to have a kid than to pay for college. Center-based cost for infants is now over $11,000 a year on average, an increase 20% from 2022 to 2023 alone. Family care costs for infants is now over $8,000 a year on average, an increase 15% from 2022 to 2023 alone. In some polling, we found that 35% of families that are in the lower income level are spending more than a third of their annual income on child care expenses. 36% indicated that child care challenges have led them or their partner to leave their workforce entirely. All while some studies show that for every dollar spent on early education for young children, you get $13 in return. This comes with more likelihood of that child graduating high school and not becoming part of our criminal justice system. This is all based on the fact that one thing that hits me hard having two young children, 90% of a child's brain is hardwired before the age of 5. Senate Bill 89 is not a magic bill that solves the issue of finding affordable child care in our state, but it's a great step in the right direction to helping our working families that are struggling with this issue every day. It creates a tax credit for families with children under the age of 7 to help with the cost of caring for kids that are not yet in school most of the day. It expands an existing tax credit to help parents with child care expenses and expands eligibility for an existing tax credit for businesses that offer child care for their workers. While there's more work to be done to help our working moms and dads, Senate Bill 89 recognizes that as a legislature, we believe that families shouldn't have to choose between having a career and being a parent. I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor for your leadership on this issue. Also want to pander for just a second and present to you Exhibits A, B, and C as to why this bill is so important for our Georgia families. I have my 7-year-old Charles Willis with us, my 5-year-old Beecher, my wife Lindsay. Can you wave at everybody? And I won't dare give them the microphone, but they'll say, vote for this bill, right? Right. All right. Be happy to yield for any questions.
You do have one question, Senator.
All right.
Senator from 29th.
Does the Senator yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator, is it not true that the props you're using today were hired with film tax credits?
That's true. I'm trying to take after the Senator from the 14th. So.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator from the 55th, you have a question?
Will the senator yield?
Yes, sir.
Is it not true that you live in the great place where I was born?
Just above there, yes, sir.
Is it further true that your progeny are much more handsome than you, and that's the reason I must vote for this bill?
Yes, sir. That's why I brought him down here.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
All right, no more questions, Senator.
All right, I ask for your favorable consideration of Senate Bill 89. Thank you.
All right, good job, good job. Yeah, the two boys, they definitely take after the mama, Senator, so.
Vote for it. Say vote for the bill.
Vote for the bill.
All right. Can't argue with that.
Hey.
Good job, good job. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, and therefore is passed. Thank you, Senator, from the 42nd. I appreciate all your hard work on that. That has been a priority of ours since the beginning of session, so we appreciate that, and thank everyone for voting for that as well. So, recognize the majority leader for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Thursday, February the 20th, day 20.
All right, the majority leader has moved. Hold on one second, Secretary. Senator from the 26th, what purpose?
Mr. Governor.
Yes, sir.
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Can I put on some overalls and be a farmer now?
Can you do what? I'm sorry?
I can put on some overalls, some brogans, and be a farmer.
Absolutely, Senator. You can do whatever you want to. They need some more farming down there in Bibb County, Senator. The majority leader has moved. Secretary, read the announcements.
Mr. President, the Rules Committee will meet upon adjournment in room 450 in the Capitol. At 1 p.m., the Public Safety Committee will meet in room 450 in the Capitol. The Transportation Committee meeting has been canceled. At 2 p.m., the Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee will meet in room 307 in the CLOB. At 3 p.m., the Finance Committee will meet in Mez 1. At 4 p.m., the Health and Human Services Committee will meet in room 450 in the Capitol. And the Government Oversight Committee meeting has been canceled. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the Senator from the 18th for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. In our never-ending quest to get a composite photograph of our Senate body, we were going to have this on Thursday tomorrow, but it has been moved to Friday. So bring your best suit, dress, tie, whatever it may be, or overalls, and come to memorialize your look in our composite for this Senate chamber on Friday, please. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. We'll remind everyone again tomorrow that the picture will be on Friday. So, any other announcements? All right, with that, the majority leader has moved that we stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, February 20th. I think that's day 20 too, right? We're halfway done here. Thank goodness. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes clearly have it. We're adjourned. Have a good day.